Hi, I'm Lena, and welcome to Super Data JP, the channel where we turn Japan's real estate and cost of living numbers into answers you can actually use. Every video here is built on verified government data, not opinions, and not guesses. Whether you're planning to invest, relocate, or just curious what life in Japan really costs, you're in the right place. Let's get into today's numbers.
You bought property in Japan from overseas. Contract signed, deed registered, taxes paid on time. Opening a bank account here should be the easy part. It isn't, and owning the property doesn't change that. Third video in our banking, investing, and pension series. Last time, the pension lump sum trap for departing workers. Today, why so many overseas property investors hit a wall trying to bank in Japan. The common assumption, if you own real estate in Japan, or have money to deposit, a bank will want your business. Surely that's enough to open an account. It isn't. Japanese banks don't gate account access by nationality or by how much you're bringing in. They gate it by residency status, full stop. To open a standard account, banks require a residence card, Zairyu card, showing mid to long-term resident status, plus a registered Japanese address that matches what's printed on it. Owning a condo, an apartment building, or even multiple properties in Japan does not make you a resident in the eyes of a bank. Without a residence card and registered address, the property itself changes nothing. So who actually qualifies? Anyone actually living in Japan on a valid visa, registered at a local address, regardless of nationality. The standard checklist: a valid residence card, a registered Japanese address matching that card, a Japanese mobile phone number for verification, and in most cases, an official seal or signature depending on the bank. A common paperwork trap: if you moved recently and your residence card still shows your old address, most banks will reject the application outright until the card is updated at your local ward office, even though you're clearly a legitimate resident. Digital-first banks like Sony Bank and Shinsei have online application flows that some foreign residents find friendlier than walking into a traditional branch, though they still require the same core documents: residence card and registered address. No way around it. Most banks informally treat residents with under 6 months in Japan as harder cases, not automatically rejected, but subject to more scrutiny and, at many branches, outright refusal. Japan Post Bank is the most accessible option for newer arrivals. It's often the first account foreign residents successfully open. Its threshold: at least 3 months remaining on your visa at the time you apply. If your visa expires sooner than that, you're generally asked to renew first. Here's the part that closes the loophole some investors hope for: Japan Post Bank's flexibility is about visa length, not residency status itself. You still need the residence card and registered address. There's no version of this exception for someone who has never actually lived in Japan. So what happens if you're a genuine non-resident? You've bought property here but live abroad full-time, with no residence card at all? There is a separate product for exactly this situation: a non-resident yen deposit account. It exists specifically so overseas owners can hold yen in Japan without living here. But it's a stripped-down product: no cash card, so no ATM access. No automatic bill payments for things like rent, utilities, or credit cards, and restrictions on transferring funds overseas. In practice, that means you can't directly pay a property management company, settle a utility bill, or move rental income out of the country through this account without extra steps. For someone expecting a normal, functional bank account, that's a jarring gap between what the product is called and what it actually lets you do day to day. Most overseas owners work around this by routing payments through a property management company that collects rent, pays local bills on their behalf, and forwards net proceeds internationally, effectively outsourcing the banking problem entirely. None of this is new bureaucracy for its own sake. It traces back to a real crackdown on financial crime. Since 2019, anti-money laundering rules have required stricter identity verification for foreign nationals opening accounts, and that scrutiny has only intensified through 2025 and 2026. Part of the reason: a black market for bank accounts. Some account holders, foreign and Japanese alike, have sold or rented out dormant accounts, which then get used for wire fraud and money laundering. Banks have responded by tightening approval at the branch level. Foreign residents who successfully opened accounts a few years ago sometimes assume the same process still applies. In practice, individual branch managers now have far less discretion to make exceptions than they did before the crackdown intensified. If you've set up a company here, a GK or KK, as we covered in an earlier video, opening a corporate account adds another layer entirely. Banks scrutinize the business's actual operations in Japan, not just the founder's residency status, before approving corporate banking. As of June 14, 2026, a new, specified residence card integrated with the My Number card has started rolling out, and banks are accepting it as valid identification alongside the traditional residence card. The practical upshot: if you're planning to actually live in Japan, banking gets easier once your residence card and address are sorted. If you're investing purely from abroad, plan around a management company from day one rather than assuming a bank account will follow the property purchase, and factor that dependency into your ongoing cost calculations. Picture two investors who each bought a Tokyo condo the same month. One relocates to Japan on a work visa, registers an address, and opens a standard account within weeks, direct debits for utilities, a cash card, everything working normally. The other keeps living abroad and manages the property entirely through a rental management firm, never opening any Japanese account at all, and runs the investment just fine without one, just with an extra layer of fees for the convenience. Before assuming you'll need a Japanese bank account, confirm whether you'll actually be a resident or stay overseas. If overseas, budget for a property management company's banking services. If relocating, get your residence card and address registered before applying anywhere, and try Japan Post Bank first if your visa has limited time left. This ties back to the NISA and pension videos in this series. All three come down to the same underlying test: are you a legal, registered resident of Japan, or not? That single distinction decides what accounts, tax treatment, and benefits you can access. None of this replaces direct confirmation with a specific bank. Branch-level policies vary, and requirements shift as KYC rules continue tightening. A Japanese bank account isn't a given just because you have money or property here. It's earned through residency, not investment size. Quick recap: most banks expect 6+ months of residency for smooth approval. Japan Post Bank accepts 3+ months of remaining visa validity but still requires a residence card. KYC tightening traces back to 2019 and continues in 2026, and true non-residents are limited to restricted yen deposit accounts. That's the real state of Japanese banking for non-residents in 2026. Subscribe for the rest of this banking and investing series.
And that's today's breakdown. If you're serious about real estate or moving to Japan, research like this is exactly what separates a smart decision from an expensive mistake. Subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and drop a comment if there's a city or word you want us to cover next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.